Hello, welcome back to everyone listening to the channel. American Ultra Stock, Braden and I, here we are. We had a brief, unforced break, really. It was all on me, really, but we're back to analyze the stock watch. It's the segment where we analyze the players whose stocks went up or down based or not on their performances over the weekend and the week. Braden, straight to the point, who's the first one who caught your eye and gets the stock up?
So my first player whose stock went up this week is going to be Dwayne Holmes. He had a great start to the season and then kind of fell off a little bit, as did the rest of Preston North End recently. But he's back in form with 2 assists and a 3-1 win over Huddersfield midweek. We're getting to the time of year, especially in England, where teams are playing 2 to 3 games a week. There's always midweek action and a lot of rotation. So he's been in and out of the lineup, on the bench, just contributing wherever he can. And it's nice to see him finally get back in the goal contributions after a decent spell. I think I even had him in my stock down the last time we did this 2 weeks ago. So it's nice to see him regaining his form in a critical period, because this time of year is the hardest for English teams, especially with the weather acting up and all the fixture congestion.
Yeah, those games start to crank up, and it's always a pressure point where you see some players really flourish. And it's also nice to see, because it's a period of the season where teams are actually settling what their goals are going to realistically be. We don't have that talk of, oh, there's still time, there's just starting. No, we're starting to see what the goals should be for the season. So it's nice to see that. My first player, I'm going with Pulisic. I just thought that he had a really good game. And it's so nice to see and encouraging, and talking about where the season's going and what the goals should be. I'll be honest, even though I've always had high hopes for him, I was very uncertain about his ability to keep a consistent level at a top club like Milan. We know that it's not as tough of a league in Serie A as it is in the Premier League, but it's fair to say at this almost halfway point, midway through the season, he's consistently getting assists or goals and good performances. And so I'm just putting him there because I feel like it truly is a comeback season for him. Now we can say it's a comeback season, and he's cemented his spot as a starter in that lineup, which a lot of people thought that maybe it would be up for grabs and could be a rotational player. But no, he's missed when he's not playing. So I'm picking him because I thought he had, again, a good performance. His chemistry with the rest of the team is really good, and I feel like he's getting a little bit more assertive to go forward again. So it's nice to see the type of assist that he's getting now is not typically the assist that he was getting in the past. We're just laying it off to the side, or a very slow play where he's not incisive to go forward. So I'm really happy about that. Now, who's the player that doesn't get a stock up and had a bad week in your opinion, Braden? First one.
Yeah, so my first stock down is actually a player who I really like in the Eredivisie, Agustin Anello. He's been forced out of the squad completely, not even on the bench anymore. He lost his number to some new young players, and yeah, it looks set that he's hopefully going to be going out on loan somewhere in the winter. That's what I'm hoping for him, at least. I haven't seen any transfer news yet. I think he still has a future at Sparta Rotterdam, because he hasn't been that bad, honestly, when he's performed in the games. It's somewhat limited time that he's gotten, and he's definitely a contender for our Olympic team out on the wing. So I'd love to see him get a winter move, maybe to the second division in the Netherlands. We have a lot of players there already who are playing at a pretty high level, I would say. So I think that would be a good spot for him to go. But as it stands now, he doesn't have a place in the Sparta team, and he needs to get a move ASAP if he wants to be in contention for the Olympics.
Talking about Olympics, it all went down after that time that he got called up, and the club didn't release him, and everything spiraled down in such tragic fashion, really, for him. It's sad to see. And I'm picking another player who I think that it's a tragic season, not really I don't think that he's had a horrible season in terms of performances that some people make it to be. Brendan Aronson. Honestly, I don't think that. I think the only thing that he's really missing, if he could convert one thing in his games, is end product. Just getting a few assists or goals. His finishing is really lackluster. And again, people like to scapegoat him for whatever reason. I don't know why they love to pick him. He's always the first one to get criticized. I really don't know why. It puzzles me, but it's fair to say his stock's going down. We see reports of Union Berlin not trying to cut the loan spell short. I don't know the veracity of those, how trustworthy it is, but If that were to happen, just the fact that there are rumors for that, even if it's a lie, just the fact that someone thought that's an idea that they can put out and it's not going to be immediately rebuted by the fan base saying, "Oh, this is out of," it's ridiculous. It's a bad sign, and I think that if it were in a hypothetical scenario, if it were to happen, it wouldn't be a good move back to Leeds. I feel like his, I don't know where it goes from now on for Brendan. That's legitimately the only reason why I'm picking him here. I don't think that he's had horrible performances, but the clear comeback that we wanted, we all saw, and in my opinion, was one of the best signings in terms of club, league, where to go, where to revive his career. The fact that I don't know where his next step should be, since it doesn't seem like he will. I don't think that he's done enough for them to want to sign him. It really makes me pick him for a stock down. It's sad to see because I think that he's a really good player, but ultimately, especially with the amount of hate that he gets, I can't pick him for stock up, because these things over time it gets very, very congested how they are always picking on him, and on the pitch we don't really have the facts or the stats which our fans love to back up defending him. So I'm picking him. What about you? And you, what's your say on that as well, Braden, before you pick your next stock up?
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, I think his next spot should probably be somewhere like the Eredivisie. I would have loved to see him stay at Salzburg maybe for another year before making that move. I think he might have moved too early. I still think if they had kept Marsh, he'd be fine, because I think he was doing well in the beginning of the season with Leeds. And honestly, as soon as they sacked Marsh, everything went downhill, not only for Aronson, but for the entire team. I honestly believe that if they kept Marsh for the rest of the season, they'd still be in the Premier League right now. But moving on to a much more positive note, I'm going to go for my next stock up, which is Emmanuel Sabbi, jumping onto the scene with one of the most random performances I've seen from a USMNT player all season. This dude has had nothing going on for him the entire season. No goals, I don't think any assists either. And he's just kind of been a rotational piece for Le Havre, who are one of the worst attacking teams in Ligue 1, because they're a very defensive team. But out of nowhere, against second place in the league, Nice, he starts the game and he scores a first half brace. And honestly, the goals were incredible as well. But the second one especially was something that I would have expected from Pulisic. I'm not saying he's at the level, because it's been his only good performance this season, to be honest. Making the jump from Denmark, I still think it was too big of a jump for him. But it is nice to see him having a good game against very high-level opposition, especially for the league that they're in. And Le Havre, like my prediction at the start of the season, they're doing just fine up in 10th. And hopefully he can continue to cement himself, because it looks like he's earned his spot in the starting lineup now. And with performances like that, he's going to keep it.
Yeah, it's nice to see, because he's had a lot of opportunities, a lot of minutes, even though when I personally watch him, I don't think he had good games. But the fact that he keeps on getting them, he's doing something right. We don't see what goes behind the scenes, the training sessions. He's getting opportunities, and that's a very flashy performance. It will definitely warrant him even more opportunities. I hope that he does well, and I agree with you. It was a jump too soon, especially if you look at his trajectory. It really is really random. But I hope that he does well. It looks like they'll stay up, so it's really nice for him. What a good game. It's a game he'll never forget, definitely. The other player who I'm picking didn't do anything remarkable. I'm going for Brian Reynolds. At the beginning of the season, I thought he had messed up his career by staying there. Still, things are not looking too encouraging for Westerlo, but they started stringing some good results, and he's always starting, which is good. He's playing week in, week out, which is probably what he wanted. That was probably his goal when he stayed there. I know that he didn't foresee how the season would go, but they're getting a little bit more positive results. The first time this season that they get 2 wins in a row. First time this hadn't happened the entire season. Both clean sheets. He was a part on both games, so I'm happy for him. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that I watched Westerlo, but when I did see the highlights, he was involved in a couple of them. Nice crosses, good defending, goal line clearance, things that definitely give you a little bit of hope for the future for him. And I'm happy as long as he's playing now. Just trying to stop thinking myself and fooling myself into the delusion that our players are always going to be great. Just if we analyze what his potential is, the fact that he's playing week in, week out for a club in Europe, that's nice. So props to him. I'm going to pick him for a stock up. Now, who's your next pick for stocks down, Braden?
It's funny that you mentioned Brian Reynolds as a stock up because my stock down actually played against Brian Reynolds this week, Gaga Slanina. And it's unfortunate that we didn't do this last week because he definitely would have been on there. One of the worst goalkeeping mistakes I've ever seen. I don't know if that's being too harsh, but just absolutely horrible. I know he's still young, but if you're starting in a top league like the Belgian Pro League and fighting for your life in the league, like Eupen are not a good team. They're in the relegation zone. That mistake against Genk that he made, it's inexcusable. And he follows it up with, I know this isn't completely on him. He doesn't score the goals. He's not involved in the attack, but he only made 2 saves against Westerlo on Friday, and it's one of the first games all season that Eupen actually had a chance to win. I feel like every game where it's always the same story. They get completely battered. They concede like 20 to 30 shots. Slanina makes double-digit saves, still lets in 4 goals, and you were saying, okay, it's fine. He's getting his reps up. He's making a lot of saves. You can't stop everything. But 2 weeks in a row now, one inexcusable mistake, and now a game where realistically the points were there for the taking, and the entire team, not just Slanina, but he does have a part in that as well, just completely failed to capitalize on the game against another relegation contender. So he has to be a stock down for me.
Completely agree. And if you watch the goals, not to say it's his fault, but honestly a top keeper, and if you want to not be relegated, you try to somehow convert those into saves, really. And the defense is atrocious too, but it's Lanina. Again, I was mentioning my delusion with some players and accepting that it's okay for Reynolds to just slowly build up his career. He'll be a depth player at best for the national team, and that's fine. I'm honestly starting to update my expectations on Lanina. I've already done so, and I feel like that's an interesting idea for us to talk about. It's one of the worst crops of goalkeepers we have ever had. And why wasn't Tim Howard born this decade? That was not born this decade, but born in the 90s, 80s. So it would be so helpful. Honestly, I feel like if he was 36, he'd still probably be playing. So, yeah, it's sad to see. My next player that gets a stock down, it's if we're talking about the position, I picked Matt Turner. Honestly, I was happy that they threw him out there again, to play. Obviously, Vlade Combs had a bad game, but I didn't really think that they would have the guts to throw him out there. And yeah, no, it's difficult. I think we're starting to see a trend where goalkeepers are being a little bit more of a rotational position than they ever have in the past, where managers are starting to be a little bit more with the now and giving consequences to bad performance. And so he got the chance. He got his start against Tottenham, and oh my, what do I say? Honestly, I do think that he is an okay goalkeeper, but he's getting exposed. His level's not the Premier League. He's not a Premier League level goalkeeper, and that's perfectly fine. Because he plays there doesn't mean that he is at that level. And honestly, what was he thinking? I'm not going to talk about the distribution in itself because everyone will look at that. But what will get overlooked is just the shot blocking. Everyone tells me, he's a good shot blocker. Where? Look at that goal. It's not the first time this season where they beat him at his near post in such tragic fashion, really. And I feel like even the reaction right afterwards, you can tell. I can't blame the guy for showing passion and being disappointed in himself. But you can tell the composure there, the confidence, everything is down. And I don't want people to credit that to the reason why he's not playing well, because we always sugarcoat things for our players. But stock down for Matt Turner, big time. That goalkeeping position is completely in the open for 26. And I will say this, if he keeps on starting for us, yeah, he's had good games, but look at our games, really. Our defense, for as bad as they are, they typically do a good job at just limiting the amount of shots. We get dominated, but we don't. It's not like Eupen where we get to 30 shots a game. If he does start for us in next year in Copa America, he will expose. He will get exposed and he will cost us. I guarantee that if we play at the highest level on a consistent basis, getting good friendlies in, he will get exposed. So big stock down for him. Now, on a more positive note, I feel a little bit bad because the guy is such a good human being. He seems like such a nice guy. I wish he was better. I do wish. But now on a stock up, Braden, who gets one?
I just want to touch on Turner a little bit. I think it's unfortunate the era that he's playing in as well, because we're in an era now where you absolutely have to be good with your feet as a top goalkeeper. And we've seen this with players like David De Gea. He led the league in clean sheets last year. He's shot blocking at an elite level, one of the best in the world, and yet he's currently without a club because he can't distribute. And Turner is one of the worst distribution keepers I've seen in the Premier League in a long time. And the shot blocking as well, like you said, that Tottenham goal. And if fans want to keep bringing back to USA performances, what about the second goal against Trinidad? One of like it's inexcusable to be not saving that. It's just a thunderbolt from Alvin Jones. I mean, it was a good shot, but you have to catch that, parry it, not just hit it into your own goal, which is basically what you did against Tottenham as well. And it is nice to see the passion, like you said. I feel like a lot of our players wouldn't have shown that kind of passion and frustration. So it's nice to see that he cares, but his spot's going to be taken again. And honestly, at this rate, I'm surprised we don't see Horvath in at this point because Lakodimos and Turner, neither of them are clearly the options. So screw it, Nottingham Forest, put in Ethan Horvath because I don't think he'd be making those kind of mistakes. But on a more positive note, my final stock up is going to be Serginho Dest, getting his first goal for PSV in the Eredivisie in a very dominant win against AZ Alkmaar, one of the best teams in the league as well. PSV have just been on an absolute tear this season, winning every single Eredivisie game about halfway through the season. It was a really good goal as well, well taken, a good assist from Malik Tillman as well, so shout out to him for that. He doesn't make the list this week, but he's been having a very good season as well as Dest has. And also had that viral moment we can't forget against Arsenal, that kind of went around Instagram with reactions from Bakayoko and Saibari on the bench. That was nice to see because he is our Brazilian American, even though he's from the Netherlands. He has the flair. We all know that. The defensive abilities are lacking a little bit, but it's nice to see him on the score sheet, finally getting the reward from a very, very good season and a good game, and just hope it keeps progressing into 2024.
Absolutely. When is he going to get converted into a winger? I'm just waiting for that day because he's such a silky player. I'm so happy for him that he's bouncing back. But we'll see. I feel like the real make or break season for Dest will be when he plays for a bigger club or next season for PSV, improving his defensive side. We all know what he can do going forward. But yeah, it's really nice that you picked him. I almost picked Tillman. He was going to be my pick. But I thought I'd show a little bit of love to a player that is forgotten, but honestly, rightfully so, based on his performances for the national team and previous performances. But Alan Sonora, I'm going to pick him. He's been playing really well. I like the Argentinian league. I like it a lot. I thought that his move to Huracan was really random. It came at a time where he stayed for, 2 weeks at Juarez, but somehow ended up there. And he's been playing well. They got knocked out. He missed his penalty, so it sounds like he had a terrible week, but I think he actually had a good game. The week before, he gave an assist. They were on a really good string of results. And I feel like Alan Senora has slowly, at least in my opinion, brought himself back to a respectable level of play, really. He's playing for a big club at a good level. I honestly am happy for him. I don't think that this means anything in terms of USMNT prospects, but honestly, it's the best time of his career, in my opinion. I don't think he's ever been playing this well, even when he was with Independiente. He's been playing really well the past few games. I think it's 5 games in a row that he started and played really well, kept an above 85% pass completion rate, since their fan base loves the stats. Gave assists, scored, really, really good bounce back, comeback season. His season's so weird. I don't know who takes care of his career, but just the moves are so weird. But good job for him. I'm going to pick him, show him a little bit of love. Everyone forgot about him. Maybe we should forget about him, but there you go. Now, next one, Braden, to close out on the stocks down. Who is it?
I think I might be this player's biggest hater, especially from an American, but it's going to be CCV. I feel like I've picked him a lot more recently than any other player. He's becoming the new Mihailovic, the weekly feature on Stock Down, but you have to put him here. Celtic finally get their only Champions League win of the campaign in a meaningless game when he's not playing, by the way. I just want to throw that out there. I think one of the only games when he was healthy and didn't start for them in the Champions League. They actually finally get a win against Feyenoord. And then on the weekend, he gets put back in the starting lineup for a game that actually matters for them, and they lose 2-0 at home to Hearts. Now, Hearts are a solid team in Scotland. They're 3rd place in the league, but if your name isn't Celtic or Rangers, you shouldn't be losing. Honestly, in Scotland, the level is just so low, and especially at home, in one of the best atmospheres, has to be said, in Europe, there's no excuses for me. And I think a lot of the apps had him rated highly. It doesn't tell the full story. You just watch the games. You shouldn't be paying attention to app ratings. And Celtic are now at a point where they've dropped enough points where Rangers can actually catch them. And given how poor this Rangers side has been this season, I don't think that's a good sign at all for Celtic. And I just think CCV has been struggling a little bit to cement himself since coming back from the injury. It's unfortunate, but honestly, I don't think he's ever been at the level. With Tottenham, he was an absolute disaster, and I think that's finally starting to show again now that he's playing at a bit of a higher level.
Yeah, I feel like it's not even hate, really. You have things to back up, and obviously people will resort to stats and apps because we have the most mob fan base in the world, really. I failed to come up with another one that I think is similar to ours, but that's fair, honestly, especially the fact that he didn't start. I saw that when he didn't start, I thought about it. Wouldn't it be interesting if Celtic just somehow wins the Champions League game right on the very game he doesn't play? And I agree with you. You can only beat Motherwell, Iverness, and St. Johnstone so much in the Scottish Premier League. And bad season for him, I think, so far. And it just brings to my attention how bad our defense is, the whole backfield area of the pitch. But anyways, going on to my next box down player. I have recently, for some weird reason, been interested in the Croatian-Yugoslavian history, and I've been reading a lot about Croatian independence war and whatsoever, and obviously that falls into soccer as well. Thought I'd watch the big game that happened, Dinamo Zagreb against Hajduk Split, and Pukstas, I was really excited to actually watch him play, and I don't think he had a good game at all. I don't think he had a bad game. A horrible game, but I would say that I was expecting a lot more, really. I feel like the passing was very lackluster. The only passes that he managed to string correctly were 5 feet sideways passes, and I was just expecting a little bit more. But in the Balkans, we do see that when the games mean a lot, it's a really cagey game, so maybe that's why, and it's just a bad expectation on my part to see him set the world alight. But I'm just picking him because I genuinely thought that he was the worst player for a Split on the day. And yeah, I just felt like today just wasn't his day. He just wasn't in a good, didn't put a good performance in. And the fact that I can pinpoint that he was the worst one on the pitch for his team just makes me get a little bit more frustrated, because I always see the stats and I see what he's doing, and I see highlights, and he's always doing well. Well, this was the biggest game so far for them this season, and I thought that something at least a little bit better than what I saw today would be the expected. But yeah, I pick him, but no hate whatsoever. I do think he's one of the most exciting players that we have in our pool. And yeah, what are your picks for the week, Braden? Who are you picking for the off the radar one and the mainstream one? Who do you think is going to have a good week?
I will just say in Bukstas' defense, because I like him a lot as a player. He's played all but 4 minutes so far for them since coming back from injury, which is a lot of pressure to be putting on a 19-year-old. And I think it just shows how good he is, honestly. The manager is trusting in him like that. And he did score the game winner against Dinamo Zagreb earlier this season in Zagreb. So I think he gets a pass for that. But it's fair. If he's having a bad performance, it should be pointed out, because no one's really paying attention to that league, to be honest, in our fan base. But moving on to my picks for this week, my player to watch is going to be Gio Reyna, and it's mainly due to off-the-field stuff because, we all know Reyna's been struggling for minutes for a long time now. He changed agents finally. I don't know if the agent was at fault or not. I think, honestly, he just needs someone to blame, which is fair. In theory, it's a good move to be switching agents, because maybe the agent, pushed him to stay at Dortmund another year instead of moving in the summer. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes. So I think it's going to be a very, very interesting January for Reyna to see if he gets a move, whether it's on loan or for a permanent transfer. I still want him to stay at Dortmund permanently. I think he should get a loan move, maybe come back in the summer. Hopefully Terzic will be gone and they'll have a better manager, because Dortmund as a whole, they've been doing really well in the Champions League, but in the league it's been a very lackluster. So I think Terzic could lose his job sometime this year, maybe at the end of the year, who knows. But I think, Reyna definitely needs a move of some sort this summer, and that's why I picked him for player to watch, because they only have one more game left, and it's this midweek before the break that a lot of European teams do during the Christmas time. So he's my main player, and then my sleeper candidate is going to be another player who I really like, Lyndon Gooch, finally getting his first goal for Stoke. Absolute screamer. Whether he meant it or not, who knows, but it's kind of a cross that went in off the bar, but absolute worldie from Gooch. And he's so versatile. Last game for them, he started at left back. This game, he's starting as more of like a right winger. It's just crazy the versatility that he has. He's kind of like Dest in that way, just not as good, obviously. And he's another one. I think I mentioned this like a month or two ago in Stockwatch when I picked Timmy Chandler. He's one of a very few amount of USMNT players who actually has somewhat of a legend status or a cult hero, at least at a club. Sunderland fans absolutely adore this man, despite him leaving earlier this season. And I think it's just nice because a lot of our players move on very quickly. They're always thinking about what's the next move? How can I get to the biggest club as fast as possible? And they don't really stay at clubs for too long. So it's nice when you finally see a player who's spending himself at a club for a long period of time.
Those are really nice picks, and yeah, I completely agree with you. I would love to see more Dempseys out there than Donovans who tried to go to a big club and didn't work out. So that's nice. That's nice. I'm gonna have to check out the goal. I won't lie, I didn't see the goal, so I'll see what happened. And my picks for the week, I'm going for Jedi. Not because you just mentioned a fullback as well. It's just because I feel like since they're playing Everton, who we know they've been struggling this season. It's in the FA Cup, which I would love to see Fulham. I would love to see our guys have a good run there. It would be so nice, and I feel like it's actually doable. I feel like Fulham has enough to go far. Try to get to Wembley at least, semifinal. That'll be nice, and I feel like he's having such a good season. It's close to Christmas time. He's been in the best form of his career, it's fair to say, being prolific on the attack as well. I feel like they'll definitely win the game. They'll move on, and hopefully they aim to just focus. It's clear to see the league won't be as much of a success as it was last year. Focus on the cup. You won't have to worry about relegation anyway. So I just pick him because I feel like it could be the beginning of the continuation of a good run in the FA Cup. And my other player, I'm going for Andrija Novakovic. I'm going for Novakovic because every player that has ever played against Venezia after leaving them turns into CR7 and Messi if they had a baby. So I'm picking Novakovic to have the game of his life. He's been playing a lot for Lecco. Very Novakovic season, really. Nothing pops in with 2 goals here and there, but that's it. But I'm picking him because I know I will watch the game and I know he's going to have a great game. So, and Venezia is choking, really. So honestly, with a goalkeeper like Bertinato, anyone can score. Novakovic can score a hat-trick. Honestly, it's possible. So those are my picks. But thank you very much, Braden. Thank you guys for watching. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment down below with ideas. Let us know what you want to see in the channel. And thank you very much. We'll see you next time.